The Port Harcourt Refining Company, PHRC, in River State has resumed operations, aligning with President Bola Tinubu's federal government's commitment to produce refined goods at the plant by December 2023. It was initially shut down in 2019, and the combined processing capacity of Nigeria's 4 refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, stood at 445,000 barrels per day. However, the refineries were rendered inoperative due to maintenance concerns.
Recall that in August this year, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Senator Heineken Lokpobiri, during an inspection tour of the PHRC Limited plant, confirmed the refinery's plans to resume operations by December, adding that the objective is for Nigeria to cease fuel importation. Also, the federal government in 2021 had allocated $1.5 billion, that's of course 1.2 billion euros, for the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt Refinery, which has a production capacity of about 210,000 barrels per day.
Now, reactions have, however, trailed the resumption of operations at the Port Harcourt Refinery, with calls for the resuscitation of Kaduna and Warri refineries as well. Joining us to discuss this development is Policy and Public Affairs Analyst Olusesan Okunade. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, my sister. It's great to be here. Compliment of the season.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Are you also celebrating with Nigerians?
Yeah, well, because we're in the season, let's just mention it, but I don't think there is any furor of celebration in the atmosphere. If you look at it for us in Lagos, right from Monday, it's been an atmosphere of traffic, both on the island and mainland. And you ask yourself the question, buying fuel at 580, 590.
Oh, no, it's more than that. It's 620.
620, and you're spending a journey of 10, 15 minutes, spending about an hour. So you're buying a fuel of 25,000 that should take you for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And you're just at the traffic. So part of the problem you face in the traffic is that you are creating the traffic because your fuel finished when it's not supposed to finish.
Yes.
And that's the problem. So I doubt if there's any celebration
And the
out
expensive
there.
petrol that you buy, you know, it finishes before you get home.
I was thinking that with the increase in the cost of the petroleum product, we're going to have a relief this period. You know, it's a ritual every December. If you're not talking about the petroleum product, talking about gas. Now we have gas, we have petrol issue, and now we have naira scarcity combined together. So what's there to celebrate?
So it's like bad news upon bad news. Would we say that maybe the refinery in Port Harcourt would be some good news that we can celebrate?
Yeah, well, to some people, it will say good news for people like us, even though we tell you that we have confidence in the government, but it seems not to be. Why are we saying this? There's one thing for a vehicle to, you would have rehabilitated a vehicle, put it in track, and another thing for it to function. Don't forget that years back, we've had a lot of investment in turnaround maintenance for some of this refinery, and not a single barrel was actually being produced. So when I got the news, I read through, and I know Port Harcourt is to give us about 210,000 barrels, 60 of the old one and 150 of the new one. From the quotes that I read and questions that I asked from people that are very close by, this is just stage one. And not until when we start seeing the impact of some of this thing in the life of an individual. I'm sure you know the impact of we producing this thing locally. It will definitely increase the pressure that we have on foreign exchange. Because a lot of this importation of fuel, we can have it domesticate the issue. If you're able to meet the demand that we have locally, then other aspect of the business can now concentrate using the foreign exchange. But for me, it's personal, not too excited until when we see, you know, the impact of this thing in the life of an individual called Nigerian.
Can you help us understand when they say that they have completed a mechanical rehabilitation, a mechanical aspect? You know, what does that mean? And of course, the news further says that by the end of the festive season, you know, they would start refining and, of course, delivering 60,000 barrels per day from this Port Harcourt refinery. Is that true? Is that likely to be, you know, a reality?
Yeah, Well, what they said is like you have a vehicle that you are putting in place. It has an issue. You have to resuscitate it back for use. The mechanical aspect of it is to make sure that every functional aspect to distill, process the product, the crude oil to the finished product, are actually intact. So we'll have a test running platform this period where you eject, where you need to fine-tune some of the knobs to make sure that you are not producing, a finished product that will be harmful to the vehicles or other things that you want to use it for. So I have another concern. It's not about just having the operation. I'm sure you know with the commissioning of Dangote Refinery in May,
Yes.
we expected that by now we should have been smiling because we expect that even the first set of the refinery of the product from Dangote Refinery at least take care of a domestic need. But here we are, 6 months after then, we've not had anything, no production. As at October, what we had was there is a shortage of the delivery of crude to Dangote Refinery,
Yes.
which was resolved around November. So for me, I'm really not too much enthusiastic in the sense that not until we start seeing this wheeled out, 60,000 barrels per day. The new one that has actually been completed, I'm sure you know we're still going to go through the route of commissioning.
Right.
You don't start operation until when you commission that. But what is the quantum of 60,000 to what those other things? That's why we are really not too optimistic. But it's a good development, at least putting us on track that we can see some of the other ones coming, on stream in no distance.
You've
time.
also talked about Dangote, and I want us to quickly, just touch on Dangote very quickly. The front page of the Daily Independent newspaper this morning, one of the subheadings there says, Dangote Refinery gets second 1 million barrels of crude. Yeah, that we have it there beneath the NNPC attaining mechanical completion of Port Harcourt Refinery. So is that something to maybe be excited about? Is it something that you think would fast-track the process?
Yeah, well, it's a good development, but I asked myself, the first 1 million barrel that was released, we've not felt the impact of the delivery of that particular one, and another one is coming on board. You see, I think the government should be intentional in providing information so that they can build the trust gap that we have, the citizens have in them. If you're talking about, this is about 3-4 weeks that we've had delivery of the first tranche, we've had another 1 million barrel. By now, we should be having information that there is a movement, from the refinery. Possibly, the journalists will have good time to cover such information and project it to the world, not even to the citizen alone, to say, okay, we are on the right track. So enough of we having information that you have an input, not having an output that will be beneficiary or have meaningful impact of the citizen. That's our worry, because a lot of the time we have good policy, we have good starting, but when you look at the finishing, you start hearing a lot of challenges, saboteurs. You hear of people that are not actually delivering to expectation, what is expected. That is our worries. It's not that some of those things are not actually there, but the trust deficit keep building up because of the way we implement some of the things that we consider as good policy and good starting. And that's our worries. While majority of the people are really not too excited. I'm sure if it is something that we have that excitement, you would have seen a lot of jubilation in the town.
Yeah.
But people are just having their reservation to say, not until when we start seeing the impact of some of these things to say, okay, we've been able to, roll out so much liters of fuel from this refinery, and we can have affirmation of, if it's going to be by truck or the filling station that are having access to it, that's when you can start building. But when you talk is cheap, for several years, we've invested a lot of money in turnaround maintenance without producing a single barrel. People are getting salary just because they are out there just looking at what is happening, and you expect that people will have that confidence. No, majority of us are not, until when we have the news that these are the liters of fuel that we've been able to, either the DPK, the AGO, name it, because refining it alone has not just everything to do about the fuel. The byproduct on its own has its own input. That's an input for some sector.
Yes.
Don't forget that you can get fertilizer from this, you can get jelly. So you will be resuscitating other arms of the economy with just refining that product locally. So until we start seeing that impact, for me, it's personal, and I'll tell you, not too optimistic. but because Nigerians, we just discussed it before we came in, average Nigerians are actually suffering. We expected that, the advent of this administration will bring a kind of relief. This is the first time, as at this time, today is 22nd. Lagos used to be a very light environment. From 15th of the month, you see Lagos, you ask yourself, this is our Lagos, because I always spend my Christmas in Lagos. But right from 15 till date, serious traffic is to tell you that a lot of people are not traveling. People that are supposed to travel are not traveling. And what's the reason? The cost of transportation on its own will not make it to. The news we heard yesterday is talking about people moving luxurious buses. My brother, I'm sure if you want to travel, you won't join that. You go with your vehicle, with your family, at least for security reason. Yeah. And for you to have convenience when you get to your place of location.
And go through 80 police checkpoints before you get
to your location. So that will even be a problem, but at least the convenience that you're getting home, you want to move from one place to the other, even in the village, you are driving your car and you're out there. Not the one that you follow luxurious bus. When you get to a particular place, the bus is out there and you are scared, you are panting, not for these bad boys to come attack you, on the way. So I look at, can we have an inclusive policy in such a way that everybody will benefit? We all know the impact this is having. State governments can try and do their own. At least we have a little so-called in Lagos State. People are moving via train. And even the train that is free, how many of us are actually using the train? I'm sure Lagos, Ibadan, if you ask everybody to go and use the train to travel to Ibadan, how are you going to connect to my own place where it's not Ibadan? That you have to still go by road. So we should just make it an inclusive thing in such a way that whether you are low, you are high, you are middle, you should be able to benefit from the policy of the government.
Yeah, great. I think it's also important that, we probably would break down, the aspects of, this. Now we're talking about 60,000 barrels per day. That means it can refine 60,000 barrels of crude oil per day, but it doesn't state exactly how much petrol you can get from that, or how much, of the other, components that can be gotten from that.
Yeah, I think with the 60 barrel per day, I'm sure I've lost that calculation, but I know it runs into millions liters of PMS, which is the commonly used, and millions of liters of diesel too. But you ask yourself, most of the time, it is not transportation that consumes this thing. The other aspect of it, which you and I know, power. A lot of people, in the last 3-4 days, I don't know where you stay, it's been blackout. It's been blackout.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had to resort to alternative power supply.
Yes. No, I agree. I just wanted, to paint a picture of what refining capacity we would need to get to, with Nigeria's local refineries, so that we can now say, okay, we are now fully sufficient. We are now able to refine for local consumption, because we're currently about 66 or 68 million barrels per day is what our daily consumption is for petrol alone.
Yeah.
So, we need at least maybe 200,000 barrels per day refined capacity, maybe 400,000 barrels.
As at the last calculation we did, at least for our sufficiency across board for PMX, I think we'll be needing about 285,000 barrels per day, at least to meet our yearning. So 60,000 out of it, you're just taking a little chunk.
Yeah.
Our Solace is actually in the Dangote refinery, which we expect that by the time he ejects into the system, with that of Port Harcourt, at least we should have a little respite. And when other ones are coming in, then we can start servicing, the neighboring countries, and earn good money. Yeah. That will definitely impact on our economy.
The government will have to decide which is more important, if it is local consumption or it is, selling or servicing all neighboring countries that are more important.
No, I'm sure it's the domestic one that they want to take as priority.
Yeah, right. Because, if we talk about 60,000 now, if we do 210 from Port Harcourt eventually, Warri is about 120.
Well, yeah.
So, that keeps us, somehow stable, close to 285,000, if that's what we need for daily
Then
consumption.
we can give Dangote the operation to earn us good money from his own production.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But does it, I'm sorry, Olive, does it also, are we also certain, because there's people who argue against it, that regardless of how much our even if we have refinery on every street, it wouldn't reduce the price of petrol.
Well, significantly it won't reduce. Let me put it that way.
That is very
Because
accurate.
what the government is saying is that they're actually going to move in line with the international market price. So the only thing you'll be reducing is the cost of freight and the foreign exchange component of that particular product. So it's not going to significantly reduce the cost maybe from 500 to 150 that we used to have. Maybe you'll be coming to about 380, 400 from the calculations we have. And over time, the forces of demand and supply, like they made mention of, which we are not yet seeing the impact, because as we speak, we expect that the level of importation of the product, as claimed by NNPC, should have technically forced down the price, but we've not seen that happening. Maybe by the time we start the local production, we will up, but it's not going to be reducing it as low as 180, 200. Okay. I think it's going to be around 350, 380 to 400, because you remove the component of the freight right. Yeah. And the insurance you have to pay on those things, bringing them in, and the fluctuation of the dollar rate that is inconsistent. Then you should just take the rest. At least you know at that point that you are domesticating the issue, and we are actually gaining from the natural resources that we are endowed with as a nation.
Is there a way that we can maybe incorporate illegal refineries? And I ask this because yesterday in the papers it was reported that in the past 5 months, the military has uncovered 636 illegal refineries and intercepted crude oil, 21.7 billion barrels of crude oil. So is there a way that we can incorporate the illegal refineries?
Yeah, well, for me, my perception is that we should incorporate them into the system. Yep. All we need to do is to regulate the quality of the production that they will have in there. Because if my knowledge do not fail me, the processing of this refined product is as good as the normal chemistry that we have those days. So all you need to do is to look at the quality assurance of what is actually being produced. With that, what you are doing is that you are encouraging, investment in the sector rather than having it, illegally, or having to steal some of this thing, produce it, and get it across to the people. Legally, you can encourage a few people. Maybe we'll now go into the aspect of saying, since you are producing this in this quantity, can you concentrate and satisfy this locality? Yeah. Can you concentrate and satisfy this area? Then with that, you would have reduced the pressure where somebody have to wait from Mosimi, you have to wait from the main focal area. And when you're able to satisfy your locality, at least people can speak from that perspective to say, well, we are not having challenges because we're able to develop it. And that might spin up other areas. I'm sure several states have this particular product that they are not tapping into. But you just need someone to spine it up to say, we are doing it right, we are enjoying the dividend, and other people will definitely, go that direction to see how they can tap into.
Okay, just to quickly correct the numbers there. Of course, I did mention 636 illegal refining sites, but we have 27.7 million liters of crude oil that have been intercepted, and this has been valued at 54 billion naira. Let's talk about the role of the NNPC in all of this. They have come under fire a lot, and a lot of criticism. Sometime last week or 2 weeks ago, Lamido Sanusi had talked about how the NNPC needs to be, it needs to be made transparent, so we know exactly how many barrels of oil Nigeria is selling, how much is coming into the Federation account as regards oil. So talk to us about the role that NNPC has to play in all of this, and what must maybe stay the same or change.
Yeah, for me, a lot needs to be carried out by NNPC. And first and foremost, I think the data collection needs to be worked on. We don't have data to work around with. And I think that's why Sanusi was reacting to say, as we speak, how many barrels of crude do we have that is leaving our shore for sales that is generating this amount? Sanusi is a banker. I'm a financial person too. So it's good to have the figure. And figures, you don't move within range. It's specific. Because this is not grains of rice where it's uncountable. Yeah. These are things you can measure. So you're able to say this quantity, a barrel, is actually being, picked out, and you're getting it at this rate. Give that particular account to us. Not that alone. you need to have understanding. We've been asking for it. How many liters of fuel are we actually consuming locally? So that will guide your projection into years to come. You see, for us in the finance sector, most of the time, these projections are good. You know your downtime, you know the period that you need to increase your production, that, okay, this is your tight period. Definitely, this is not the season that everybody wants to stay at home. It is not the time. So it's a time where, if possible, that they are able to pay you your 13th month, you want to take out your family, you want to have fun, at least of all the pressures you've had throughout the year. So you should be able to have statistics to say, okay, in the month of the first quarter, these are the liters of fuel that we know averagely we can work with and pump that into the system. At this point, we don't need to have as much as that. So data is key, and we've been asking NNPC. That data is very fundamental for the decision making, even of the company. You see, when you provide those data and you're transparent about it, a lot of people will want to invest in the business. Yes. It's not about you alone. But when you don't even have data to really ride on, how do you make business projection for the next 2, 3, 5 years as an investor coming into the stake of it? So I think NNPC is lagging. 2, 3 years ago, before the last administration, left office, we heard about them having an audited financial statement. Thereafter, I have not had any to show, and now they are limited liability company, which we expect that they are supposed to fulfill that obligation by making known. Yeah. It's a statutory thing. It's not something that you have to.
There have been a lot of calls for even making the auditing of the NNPC public. Let those figures be publicized.
Of course, it's part of what we're saying. You need to. That is the major revenue generation. Stuff for the country, and we don't have idea. We don't have clue of what we are getting every day. What is going out? Are we even meeting up the open? You just give us the figure. With the advent of technology, some of these things can be projected that everybody will be saying. If you go to companies now, people have this oscillating thing to say, okay, this is what we produce today, this tomorrow, this how it is. Once you are transparent like that, nobody will ask question. But when you just come and just give me figure that I'm not saying, some of these things have been automated.
I also want you to quickly speak on the end of the subsidy era. The president, of course, made mention that subsidy is gone. So I want you to share your thoughts on, how all of this comes into play with the, hope that the Port Harcourt Refinery comes fully into, function. Nigeria, of course, is expected to continue to save trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of naira.
Yeah, well, I acknowledge the fact that the decision of the president is fine, removing the subsidy, because the assumption is that just very few people that have been benefiting from the subsidy of a thing, though some of us have reservation that if you feel that the high network people are the one benefiting from it, put the threshold of the people that are plugged to the high network person that you're talking about. He has about 3 drivers he's doing. Now he has reduced the 3 driver to 1. That means 2 people are out of work. So what's the impact of that subsidy on it? And we've asked, I think the first 2 months of the assumption of office of this administration, we had about a trillion naira was actually saved from subsidy. And we've asked the question, what have we invested this funds on? And that's why we are calling for transparency. You should be able to give explanation to the citizen, because you are the chief accounting officer to tell us that this so much that has actually been saved is actually being invested. Is it in education? Is it in health sector? Right. Is it even in refinery themselves? So it's a wake-up call for the government for transparency and accountability, so that we can reduce the trust deficit that the citizen has in them. Most of the time, when government bring out things that should excite the citizen, they are just looking the other way around to say
and it's not
a normal thing.
We can't really blame citizens. It's been a very long journey, and there's still so much that needs to go. And like you said, there is indeed a trust deficit. Mr. Olusesan Okunade, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. Let's still go out, celebrate, whether low-key, high-key. Make sure that at least you create the happiness for yourself.
Absolutely. I'm wearing the Christmas for this one. I'm wearing red.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.